That's Sutton, and I'm Simply. And welcome back to the Purple Rain podcast. Welcome back to another edition of the Purple Rain podcast. And it's been a while since I've kind of forgot how to do this. Shout out to Sutton for holding it down since I've been gone. But so thank you for that. But welcome back to episode 188, Charlie Carlar episode, Dennis Pita episode of the Purple Rain podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. Follow this guy on Instagram, on Twitter, at Sutton Def. Back in the studio, back with that lovely mic. It sounds so good to hear it.
Yes,
you can follow me on Instagram. I love it. It's like I'm listening to a radio station right now. You can follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on Twitter at simplyas10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. You can go on there, get yourself something nice. Actually, just released a brand new promo video with Derek Lewis. I think it's hilarious. His balls were hot. If you want to go in there and get something, code PRP, 20% off and free shipping. Gotta love it. But how have you been? It's been a while since we talked. How's it going?
No, man, it's going great. Honestly, just want to point this out really quick. I did not know that Manscaped sponsored Derek Lewis. That is amazing. That's like perfect. That's perfect. Literally, like the whole "my balls was hot" thing. If you guys don't know who Derek Lewis is, he's a UFC fighter. His balls typically get hot after fighting. He wins a lot. So if you don't know who Derek Lewis is, go look him up. Some of the craziest knockouts you'll ever see. Yeah. But I'm doing great, man. But not as great as you should be doing. Just getting off that vacation, man. You're just telling me a little bit about it. So tell the Rain Gang a little bit about, your vacay.
Yeah, so I was out of the country for the first time ever. Definitely recommend, getting your passport. Hit the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Bahamas. Got a nice tan. You can't really tell, but I'm feeling good. And I hit Disney World afterwards, so a little rundown in the voice, but I very, very much enjoyed it. Like I said, shout out to you for holding it down on the channel. I definitely miss talking Ravens. Like, we're in preseason. I love talking about preseason, but we're here now. So much to talk about, signings to talk about, Marlon Humphrey to talk about going down. Like, there's just so much to talk about right now.
So much we got to cover, man. So much we got to cover. But we would be remiss if we did not bring up who's in the live chat right now. Brandon Lewis in the house says, what's going on, Brandon? J Prime 235 in the house says, hello. Always coming through supporting. We appreciate you. Yolanda B in the house. What's going on, Yolanda? We appreciate you as well. Another Purple Rain pioneer right there. We got Tex Tropicana says, Ravens flock. What's going on, Tex? SG says, what's up, Rain Gang? Let me see. I saw my guy, JD Killswitch. Also in the house says, what's up, Rain Gang? What's going on, JD? Raven Ron says, what up, PRP? Bye Prochet. Ooh, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. What Ravens won't make the team. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, man, love all of you guys for coming out. We've been getting a lot more subscribers since football season is like getting closer and closer and closer. I think like an extra 300 subscribers in the last like 25 days or something like that. Crazy. You guys are amazing. We love you guys. We love the Rain Gang. If you're just subscribing and you're new to this channel, or if you're new to this channel, all of our viewers, all of our supporters, we call you guys the Rain Gang, right? We're all a big happy family, here at the Purple Rain podcast. We really do appreciate you guys for coming on board. And yeah, you're not going to be disappointed. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. This football season is going to be amazing, and we plan on being there every step of the way. Don is in the house, says, damn, I missed it. What's going on, Don? We appreciate you for coming. We're here. You didn't miss anything. You're right on time.
Come on.
Yeah. All right. So, like our guy Simply AS10 said, there's a lot for us to get into. There's a lot that's happened since we just started talking. Since we last seen you guys. I'm sorry. But what I really want to get into, Alex, because we haven't talked since the first or the second preseason game.
Yeah.
What are your overall thoughts right now on the Ravens? State of the Ravens, overall thoughts. Go ahead.
I'm still feeling confident. But it's just, I'm just repeating myself again. Pass rush and secondary. is the
Yeah.
only thing I'm kind of nervous about. Everything else is kind of Zay Flowers, as good as advertised. Really nothing to say about there. Kate Mitchell, as good as advertised, in my opinion. He had broke off that touchdown against the Eagles. I saw got called back, but even then, still good. Broke off another run. Our backup quarterbacks, Josh Johnson, I think he looked pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, looked pretty good, making a case to be on the roster. Yeah, that's really pass rush and secondary. How about you?
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. And more specifically, damn, it's kind of both. It's kind of both because the two kind of play hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
I always say on the show, like, listen, if you have a mediocre to decent pass rush, that can be made up for by a great secondary, and vice versa. They kind of go hand in hand. But my biggest concern right now is definitely going to be the pass rush. Definitely going to be the pass rush because I think that the pass rush is even more important than the secondary because the secondary doesn't have to perform if the pass rush gets home, right, and gets sacks. So what I saw in the Eagles preseason game, more specifically than the first one. Oh no, I'm sorry. Then the Commanders preseason game, more so than the Eagles preseason game. I saw a team that could not get home. Now listen, we did not play a whole lot of our starters. I mean, Ojabo was in there. He has not impressed me this preseason. Okay. So, and Ojabo was one of the guys who, I mean, if you guys have been watching the show, Ojabo was one of the guys who I really had a lot of faith and confidence in to really take that next step this year. And he still could, right? He still could, but I just have not seen it yet in the preseason. I was hoping that I would, and I just haven't. So my biggest concern right now is the pass rush because in that Commanders game, I watched Sam Howell drop back in that pocket and just look as cool as a cucumber, right? As comfortable as can be. And that just gave me nightmares because if we're giving Sam Howell, right, this sort of time, imagine what a Joe Burrow twice a year. Imagine what a Patrick Mahomes, God forbid we make it to the playoffs, is going to do. Josh Allen, you know what I mean? All these other powerhouses in the AFC. What's going to happen if we cannot get home?
I'm
And
stressing thinking about it.
I'm stressing too. I'm stressing. And to follow that up, our secondary's hurt, right? So the only thing that's really like solid on our defense, linebackers, front seven, I mean defensive line, that's kind of like our saving grace right now. Everything else is a big question mark. So that's my biggest concern for the Ravens right now. I want you guys, everybody watching live right now, so the Rain Gang, and if you're not watching live, we'd like to call you guys the hashtag Replay Gang. Thank you guys so much for coming out to this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 188. Make sure you leave your comments down below, your questions down below. I want to know what is your biggest concern for the Ravens right now, heading into the 2023
Please
season.
do.
That's what I want to know. Drop that
Please
down
do.
below.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping David Ojabo's having a Jamar Chase type preseason. Remember, he was dropping the passes his rookie year and shows out, but I'm definitely worried. I saw Sam Howell shaking off defenders too. And I know he was playing against, second and third stringers, but those guys, when you look at the Ravens defense the past couple of years, we've had to rely on those guys in the secondary to come in because we're always going down. Like, no matter how good we are, and we see it now, we had just random guys out there playing. So, and he's just dotting us up. And to your point, the pass rush, Owe wasn't out there, yeah, but is he a guy that's developed? Do we know? Is Owe going to get us 7 sacks this year? I hope so. I don't know. It's not like we have Terrell Suggs and Elvis Dumervil on the sidelines. And we can be like, oh, yeah, Or we have a Bosa brother or a Watt or a Myles Garrett over there. No, we don't.
A game wrecker.
Yeah, we don't. So I'm right there with you with the pass rush because at least in the secondary, Rocky Sin's back. Arthur Millette is a solid veteran. Signing Ronald Darby. We have Brandon Stevens who's played in this defense. But when you look at the pass rush, who do you have? Jadeveon Clowney does not move me as a pass rusher. I'm sorry, it's a great contract, but he had 2.5 sacks last year.
Yeah,
I'm not moved. That's
yeah,
it's real
yeah.
concern.
That's something that the whole Jadeveon Clowney thing. That's something that's happened since we last talked, and I have yet to get your real opinion on it, your honest opinion on it. I'll give you mine to start out. I put out a short about it a while back. I don't love it, but I like it in the sense that, as soon as the Ravens realized that, that was a huge need, just like the whole cornerback thing and them going and getting Ronald Darby, as soon as they found out that Marlon Humphrey needed surgery, this team is taking the proper steps and doing what they need to do in order to stay ahead of the curve. Not to just kind of let things go by the wayside and just see how things turn out, right? Be proactive. Go out and get a guy. That's what we did on our two weakest positions on the defense, DB and edge rusher. Now, I'm on the record saying that Jadeveon Clowney is not my number one preference when it comes to edge rushers. My number one preference was actually Robert Quinn, but now I know why Robert Quinn was not picked up by the Ravens or any team by that matter. So I get that. But Jadeveon Clowney, like I said before, I think he is more of a run stopper specialist than a sack specialist. And that is why I can't say I love it. But I'll also say this, and I say this a lot on this show. So if you're watching this for the first time, get used to me saying this. I know that veteran players in the NFL, when they go from a non-contending team to a contending team, something sparks inside of them, right? There's some sort of fire that just sparks, right? And they get more motivated because they feel like they can actually go out there and compete for a ring, So I think that that's one of those sort of things that's going to happen with Jadeveon Clowney, kind of like how it did for a guy like Marcus Peters, who kind of turned the clocks back and really turned up for us when he came to Baltimore. Kind of like Calais Campbell, who did the same thing as well. Had a couple X Factor plays. I expect
Derek
a
Wolf.
couple X Factor plays. Derek Wolf, exactly. A lot of Ravens fans don't like Derek Wolf, but neither here nor there. I expect a lot of X Factor plays out of Jadeveon Clowney, just because I feel like he's going to feel rejuvenated in his career, being with the Ravens, being with Lamar Jackson. I think he said it today. I think he had a press conference today, and he said, just loves the fact that he's not playing against Lamar Jackson, even though everybody says that. I mean, that's obvious, right? But it does say something that he is seemingly excited to be here in Baltimore. So, what is your reaction to Jadeveon Clowney being a Raven?
Yeah, I'm right here with you. I don't hate. He is good for stopping the run. When you look at who we have to play running backs wise, Joe Mixon twice a year, Nick Chubb twice a year, Najee Harris twice a year.
Yeah,
it's good for that reason. I just hope that Mike McDonald. I see Jeremiah said that we were fifth in sacks last year without any double-digit guys. That's going to be coming up to our linebackers. If Patrick Queen puts up 5 sacks again, Roquan Smith had a couple as well. Guys like that start getting sacks. Then I can see us, maybe being in the top 10. But I want to have a guy that, like you say, is a game wrecker. We're missing that, and that's teams that make it far have a game wrecker. You look at the teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. Frank Clark turned it on in the playoffs. Hassan Reddick for the Eagles. The Niners, Bosa. I mean, you look at the Bengals, Trey Hendrickson. All those guys had a game wrecker, and I hope OA or Ojabo is the guy to be that. Or it could be Jadeveon Clowney. Because when you look at what the Browns were playing for last year, it really wasn't a lot. They knew from the jump they weren't going to make the playoffs. Now, the Ravens, the standard is a little bit different. So hopefully that standard makes him step up.
Yeah, definitely agree there. And what were your opinions on the Ravens going out and picking up Ronald Darby at DB?
I couldn't agree with you more on your short. You said it possibly could be maybe a little bit of a good thing because we have to go out there and we have to, actually get solid guys and not have, with all due respect, Robert Jackson out there. I love it for that reason. I think Darby, he starts on this team, whether Rockison and Humphrey are fully 100%, he's going to start. And I wouldn't hate us getting somebody else like Cameron Dantzler, who's 24 years old. Not the best, but another guy to have who has starting experience in case of anything else that happens. Because we see with our secondary room, we literally had, I think Brandon Stevens was our number 1 corner last week.
Yeah.
And the guys were dropping. Pepe Williams is out for a little bit. Jalen Armour Davis just can't see the field. So that's our 2 fourth-round picks from last year that aren't going to play.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, like you said, love it for that reason. The fact that we really needed a cornerback, especially after learning the news that Marlon Humphrey I was gonna go ahead and get what was it, ankle surgery, right? So
Yeah.
it's definitely much needed for sure, and that's why I love it instead of like it. And you know, I said I like the Jadeveon Clowney move. I don't love it because he's not a sack specialist, you know. So takes there. I want to get you guys' take in the live chat. So if you have any takes on this, on Jadeveon Clowney, Ronald Darby, put it down below in the chat room. If you're not watching this live, make sure you comment down below if you're part of the hashtag replay gang. We thank you guys so much. Showcase FTR says, glad you guys are back for real. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
I'm glad we're back too. I'm like, I miss talking Ravens ball. It was hard watching a preseason game. I'm like, damn, I can't talk about it after. Usually we watch games on Sunday. Next day we're about to talk about it on Purple Rain, on the Purple Rain, report or just a recap of the game. But now we're back. Feels good.
We're back. Feels great, honestly. Now I want to touch on a couple more things before we get into the title of the video. Who won't make the team? Who do we think won't make the team? The 53-man roster should be coming out sooner rather than later. I think in the next couple weeks or so. So we're just kind of speculating on that for now. But I do want to get into one left guard position, right? Salah versus Simpson. That's what we're down to right now. Right. Salah's been struggling. Simpson has looked pretty good. Right. So I think the consensus right now is that going into week 1 of the season, John Simpson is our starter at left guard. Right.
I'm right there with you. And I'll go on I'm not going to call it X. I'll go on Twitter and I see our guy huddled up films, talking about it. And, I trust him a lot with his football knowledge, especially on the O-line, because I'll be honest, I don't have that much knowledge about O-line. And hearing, seeing what he says and hearing him talk about it, definitely Simpson. And it's not even close to how good Simpson's been playing. And I saw he was a 4th round pick from the Raiders a couple of years ago, and it just fits the Ravens kind of lineman. So we'll take a guy, we see it with Bradley Bozeman, we see with our undrafted guys, we'll take these guys who were taken in later rounds or undrafted, and we make them good. And John Simpson's just the next one. So he will be your day 1 starting left guard, and I hope he plays his ass off and keeps it the whole year. Because I think our line right now with Stanley, Simpson, Linderbaum, Zeitler, and then Moses sounds pretty good.
No, it sounds damn good, man. And that line was dominant last year. So I expect the same thing out of them this year. And the sky's the limit, honestly, for the rest of those skill positions, if that is the case. So let's see.
And our backups, you guys are too. Saying. Makari behind him, Falele, Cleveland, if he makes it, he could be trade bait. Wouldn't surprise me. And then Salah.
Yeah. Let me see. So, all right, let's get into who won't make the team.
Yeah, right? This hurts.
Let's get into who will not make the 53-man roster. There's been a lot of guys who, we either drafted, undrafted free agents, signed off of the street, whatever. A lot of guys who we may even have had for the past couple of seasons who may not make that 53-man roster. I'm on record personally saying that James Prochet will be one of the guys who will not make the 53-man roster. And I just think that this is a foregone conclusion, Alex. I really do. In the Washington Commanders preseason game, he had that drop right in the end zone. Slightly underthrown, right? But went right through his hands, right? He could have had that. We know James Prochet for being a hands guy. Couldn't haul it in. Week before that, against the Eagles, right? Had that muffed punt, right? Ended up going the other way. Just can't have that sort of stuff. You messed up on special teams. And then you messed up as a wide receiver as well. Those are your only 2 ways of actually being on this roster. You messed both of those opportunities up. So let's have a moment of silence right now for James Prochet on this roster. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Because I definitely think he's gone. I definitely think he's gone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
that hurts. Unfortunately.
And we love Prochet, but we know this is a business, right?
Yeah.
And more importantly, the wide receiving room got decked out this offseason. If it did not get decked out like it did, we might be saying something different right now. But it did. We have an Odell Beckham Jr. now. We have a Zay Flowers now. We have a Nelson Aguilar. We have a Laquan Treadwell. So there's so much less room for error in the wide receiver department that he's expendable at this point.
Yeah, and Graven made a great bit about it. He feels bad for him, and I'm right there with him too. I feel James Prochet is the guy that, like, his hard work, I think he works harder than most people on the team. It just doesn't translate on the field, where he just has really bad luck. And maybe it's best for him to have a change of scenery, whether that be maybe he goes on the practice squad of a different team, maybe gets caught up, makes a couple of plays. But I just think the time here now just it's kind of gone stale, and he's done everything possible. I remember I was on one of his Instagram lives, and somebody was like, "Man, F Greg Roman, he doesn't give you a chance." And he's like, "No, like that, he's the best OC in the league. If I get my chances, I'll get my chances." I'm like, that's a true professional right there, because he's better than me, because he got 0 chances under Greg Roman, which unfortunately probably lowered his confidence, and I completely understand that. So I'm a James Prochet fan my whole life. I hope that he goes somewhere else and balls. But unfortunately won't be here in Baltimore.
Yeah, definitely don't think he'll be here in Baltimore either. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Let's see. Harry Holland says, give it up for Tylan Wallace for being our wide receiver number 6. Yeah, I mean, at this point.
You were the first Tylan Wallace truther, by the way. So you take the floor here.
Before we even
I remember it. I remember you were the first Tylan truther. Take the floor. It's yours.
Listen, man. Back a couple years ago, when Tylan Wallace was playing at Oklahoma State University, loved him. I loved him. The guy had every trait that I wanted to see out of a wide receiver, out of a rookie wide receiver, a prospective rookie wide receiver, right? And getting into the league, I think that we kind of did him a disservice by drafting him to the Ravens, to be honest with you, because we're a run-first team. We were developing Lamar Jackson. We wanted to have all these other priorities at receiver, including Mark Andrews. So Tylan Wallace never really got the opportunities to kind of develop and grow and bloom into the player that I know that he can be. And he's shown flashes of it every now and then, So I love seeing him score that touchdown for sure in the preseason. It's just, it's satisfying. It's satisfying as somebody who's been supporting this guy since day one. And, he's never really gotten his opportunity as a receiver on this team, and I don't necessarily think that he will get a whole lot of opportunities, even still to this day, right? He'll probably still make most of his impact on special teams, to be honest with you, which is fine. But I want him on the roster for when that day comes. God forbid, honestly, that, guys get hurt, guys go down, but this is the National Football League. Shit happens, right? Guys get hurt. Guys do get hurt. That happens. Tylan Wallace is one of those guys who I feel like can step up, who can show up, who can show out, man. I mean, and now he's entering his 3rd year, right?
Yep, 3rd year.
Yeah, 3rd year in the league, man. I think that this is the year we see a couple big plays from Tylan Wallace. I mean, nothing crazy, right? Because we got way more priorities at wide receiver, but I definitely think that Tylan Wallace will start to get his in some way, shape, or form this year.
Yeah, and having touchdowns in back-to-back games, and even he drew a really good PI. It's plays like that may not show up on the stat sheet, but best believe the coaches saw that. It's very unusual for a Ravens receiver to draw a defensive pass interference. Remember Bateman did it against the Vikings a couple years ago, and that was like really like something brand new to Ravens fans.
Torrey Smith used to be great at it.
Right. So seeing Tylan Wallace do it too, and I think, if I'm being realistic, if he gets 10 catches, I'll be over the moon. Because I feel like those catches will probably be chain movers. They'll just get lost in coverage, just open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, shout out to Tylan Wallace for keeping his head down, balling out, especially on special teams, and being able to have a spot on this 53-man roster.
Wait a minute. Uh-oh. We got a super chat
Is that what
donation.
I think it is?
We got a super chat donation. Yeah. That's exactly what you think it is. Making it rain here is Oscar Lilienthal with the 5-piece here on episode 188 of the Purple Rain podcast. Oscar, we thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Oscar, we know you were in here before we even went live. Thank you for being so patient. We appreciate you, bro. Says, what bothered me most is that Prochet did not make up for the play. He left the screen and never tried to tackle. Thank you for bringing this up, Oscar. Thank you for bringing this up, because that is the thing that irritated me the most about that play. It wasn't the fact that he didn't try to go up and high point the ball because it was slightly underthrown. It wasn't the fact that, he didn't haul the ball in, even though it was like right in his hands, kind of went right through his arms, to be honest with you. It wasn't any of that. It was the fact that once the Commanders DB intercepted the football and started going the other way, Prochet went off the screen. He went off the screen. He was not an immediate, like, let me shift my body weight, turn this way, and go try to tackle this guy and not let him get past the 50, because they ended that play in Ravens territory.
Mm-hmm.
They ended that play in Ravens territory. Now, I don't think that happens if James Prochet puts in a little bit more effort after the interception and goes and makes that tackle. I mean, because you got the Ravens, the Commanders DB, after he made the pick, he's running side to side, east to west, trying to find an opening or something like that. That is your perfect time to beeline it at that guy, take him down before he does any more damage. But he did not do that. He did not do that. I think that's the reason why John Harbaugh will look at a play like that and say, hey, like in preseason, what do we want to see from guys trying to make the team? Effort. Didn't get that there. So thank you for bringing this up, Oscar. What do you think, though?
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but even I thought he could have just made a play to try to bat it down. I know it was underthrown, but that's what the best receivers do, is when a ball is not catchable, they turn into a DB. Yeah. I didn't even see the muff punt. Did he try to go after the muff punt against the Eagles? Or did he just kind of sit there and stare at it?
That one I can't quite remember, but just the fact that Prochet is known as a hands guy. He's a hands guy.
Yeah.
Always been known as that, So you let a punt just go right between right through the breadbasket, right? And then the same thing with a touchdown catch. I can't have that. Can't have that. There's too much competition at wide receiver. And not only that, it's only 53 men allowed on the roster. There's other positions that we need better depth at, i.e. DB, cornerback, where I think that the Ravens would prioritize an extra cornerback as opposed to a James Prochet. That's just me.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. I think he's expendable. I think he probably won't make the team. But end of the day, we love him as a person. We respect the things that he's got going on in his own personal life, things like that. But in terms of making this roster, I just don't really see it happening at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Moving on to someone else who I don't think will make the roster.
Yeah.
Staying on the offense is somebody who we just signed a couple of weeks ago. That's Melvin Gordon. I don't. Okay. He's a pretty big boy. He let Emmanuel Forbes one-on-one tackle him on a 3rd and short. Emmanuel Forbes is not the biggest of guys.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon is going to be a power runner. A guy who at the goal line on the 1 yard, 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, you hand it to him, he's going to punch it in. No. I don't see him making this team.
Yeah. Especially considering that, like, the power runner archetype of running back, we already have that in a Gus Edwards, So if you're not holding a candle to Gus Edwards, who a lot of, people who watch this sport don't even know who Gus Edwards is, to be honest with you. So if you're not competing with that guy on this roster when we're a run first team, yeah, you're probably getting cut. Especially considering how well a Justice Hill is playing in the preseason, averaging 14 yards a carry. We haven't even talked about J.K. Dobbins, who recently just came back. Yesterday, J.K. Dobbins saying himself at the presser, he's 100% ready to go.
Yeah.
Not even mentioning, we haven't even talked about Keaton Mitchell.
No.
Who showed that burst? I know you saw that play, Alex, around the edge where he hit that top speed, man. He's just running by guys. Didn't you love to see it?
And undrafted, by the way. So I think Keaton Mitchell makes it over Melvin Gordon. Different type of running back. Him and Justice Hill will be the speedsters. Can make a name on the special teams as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that the Ravens running back room might be one of the best, if not the best, running back room in the league. I may be biased because I know more about Ravens running backs than I do about any other running back room in the league. But Alex, off the top of your head, can you give me a running back room that is better than the Ravens.
I mean, Chubb and Hunt were good, but Kareem Hunt's a free agent.
Free agent.
I mean, Derrick Henry and whoever, but Derrick Henry
They
didn't
don't
look the
have
same at
McNichols
the end of
anymore.
last
I don't
season.
know what they're doing with the backup
CMC
position.
and who?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to stars and who their backup is, right?
I mean, I like Pacheco and I like Jet McKinnon, but I think Dobbins and Edwards is a different type of running backs.
Yeah.
The Cowboys do have. Oh yeah, Deuce Vaughn and Tony Pollard is a good running back duo.
Yeah,
but Deuce Vaughn is rookie. I mean, it's definitely one of the better ones up there. You can 100% say that. I mean, Dobbins and Edwards. Yeah.
Dobbins and Edwards, and then I mean, just the 3-4 punch of Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. That is what really like sets it off for me. When you're talking about an entire running back room, so from your starters down to your depth guys, who can you really rely on? I feel like we can rely on at least 3 out of those 4 guys. Keaton Mitchell's a rookie, right? Undrafted free agent, so we don't really know what he's going to do in the regular season. Justice Hill, even last season, right? Even last season in that playoff game, had signs of like just him being a beast, man. I mean, Justice Hill, Justice Hill is another guy who I've been a truther for since before he was drafted. Now, Justice Hill got drafted, I think.
Where'd he go to school?
4 or 5 years ago. OSU.
Well, I mean,
Same school.
I'm sensing the theme right here.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are good, man. These guys are good. And I was saying it, I think the first time I brought up Justice Hill on a podcast was the first time that you and I were on a podcast together. It was on Engraven's podcast, leading up to the 2020 season or the 2019 season. Okay, 2020, yeah. So a couple years ago, I mean, I've been believing in this guy, Justice Hill. He's been showing his ass off in special teams, and is definitely doing it in the run game too. So hopefully he gets more opportunities. But as a whole, I think that the Ravens running back room is one of the best, if not the best, in the league.
Yeah, SG9 is just CMC and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason is really good, but it's definitely I think a top 5 room in the league by far. So yeah, as for other guys not to make it, I think not Jalen Warren has looked good.
Yeah, he does.
I tell you, Jalen Warren could be and Najee could be a Tony Pollard Zeke situation. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah.
So as we're saying on the offensive side of the ball, Travis Vokalek, I believe his name is. Yeah. 2 touchdowns. That second touchdown. All right, that throw by Anthony Brown. That was a damn good throw. That was a damn good throw. Like he couldn't have put it much better. And if he put a little bit too much on it, would have been dropped or would have gone out of bounds. I don't think he makes the roster, unfortunately. I feel like Kolar, Likely, Andrews are ahead of him. But the way EDC trades players, there's some teams out there that I saw the Vikings. I mean, they have Josh Oliver. Hawkinson isn't 100% right now. They could be a tight end needy team, or some teams that may need a tight end. You could flip him for a 5th, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think he'll be traded before being cut. But yeah, I think he's really impressed me so far.
Definitely has. One of those guys who we're just so deep at the position where it's like, we don't really, we love the production out of him, but is he really going to start over Isaiah Likely? No. Is he really going to start over Charlie Kolar, who kind of showed flashes last year in the regular season? No. So definitely good trade value we can get out of him, which is good. That's part of the reason why I love the preseason, because you can kind of develop guys and polish them up and put them right there in your glass case on display for other teams to go and try to trade for. But yeah, Vokalek, I did like seeing those 2 touchdowns out of him. But in terms of the tight end room, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews is just all I need, man. It's all I need. It's all I need, man. And Isaiah Likely is actually starting to get more recognition from national media, which I like. I'm enjoying that because he's such a good player, man. He's such a good player. And we've been ranting and raving about it for probably exactly 365 days now, because he was showing off in the preseason last year too. Catching balls and getting that wiggle, making the first or 1 or 2 guys miss. Like, We love to see that, man. So I'm good with our tight end room.
And Flo No says he doesn't know. He wouldn't be surprised if we keep a blocking tight end. Flo says we don't have a blocking tight end on the roster, and he has hands. All right. So what does Pat Ricard do then? Yeah. What is his role on this team?
Hybrid fullback tight end.
Yeah, I know he had this catch, but is Vokalek like shows out? Like, I don't want to sit here and if he shows out in the third game and like blocking, I think there would be a question about Ricard because he has this cap number on him. I mean, do you try to trade him? I mean, we have Ben Mason who's making a significant amount less than him.
Yeah.
That definitely, and we know that Monken does not use fullbacks like that. He even kind of made fun of Greg Roman in his opening press conference, talking about having fullbacks run against linebackers. I think Ricard makes a team. I do, but depending how this week goes and how the game goes, the Ravens could have questions to ask about, Vokalek and Ricard. So definitely something to keep your eye on.
Definitely this last preseason game against the Buccaneers, I need to see a lot. I need to see a shit ton of Vokalek, to be honest with you, in order to justify keeping him over Patrick Ricard. I haven't seen much out of Ben Mason, period, yet to really make that call. But listen, man, for us to get rid of Patrick Ricard, you know how much I love Pat. You know how much I love Project Pat, man. So I can't just let go of him that easily, man. Vokalek, I love the 2 touchdowns, but just what we've seen from Pat so far in the regular season, even in the playoffs, like he's irreplaceable. He really is, man. He really is. Okay.
And his cap number is $4 million this year, by the way. So for a fullback. So you think about a Greg Roman offense, what he did makes sense. So let's talk about a Ty Monken offense.
And a Monken offense with a paid Lamar Jackson, might be a different story. Might be a different story.
People saying Ben Mason. Yeah, I believe Ben Mason is out of here. I think he would get cut over Pat Ricard. And look who it is.
Now listen, we got another Super Chat donation. Mystic Max Offit, making it rain here on episode 188 of the Purple Rain podcast. We appreciate you, Max, man. Says, I would like to see the ones get some time in Tampa rolling in this new offense. Can't live scared, and we need our offense to start hot. This is a perfect transition. It's a perfect transition. So yesterday, Harbaugh came out at the press conference and said that Lamar Jackson wants to play against the Bucs in week 3 of the preseason. And he said that's all he has to say about that. So he's just not going to comment anymore. To me, that says that he's not going to play him. He's not going to start Lamar Jackson. Like, come on, no chance. You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts on starting any starters in this week 3 preseason game, and specifically Lamar Jackson?
It's not going to happen. Me personally, I would have liked to get a drive in each game. I don't think it's crazy to say. Just a drive. I know that Dobbins got hurt a couple years ago. That's FedEx Field, all right? That field is cursed. Nothing you can do about that. But I wouldn't mind just, because thankfully we play the Texans week 1. But let's say it's like a divisional game, if we would have one of them. It would have been a little bit worrying, but this offense is going to take a little bit to mesh and gel together. But I would like to see maybe a drive or 2. That's all. But it's not going to happen. I think Harbaugh is suffering from PTSD. I know a lot of fans are too. But I see, some teams, Saints having their new quarterback out. Even the Chiefs rolling Mahomes and company out there. I would like to see him just once, but I'm not going to sit here and get mad over it. It's whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't really care if the starters play or not either. I mean, it's a long ass season. It's a long season. We're not going to hang our heads. We're not going to hang our hats on week 1, week 2, or week 3 of the season. Now, obviously, if we start 0-3, that's a problem. Yeah. But I just think it's such a long season. You have time to make up for early season struggles. You really do. So with that being said, let me see.
I want to think the joint practices with the Commanders was kind of like that because you're playing a defense that doesn't know what you're running, doesn't know anything. So I'm kind of hoping that was like their ramp up. And there was some good and bad reports out of that. Odell was cooking. I mean, Zay Flowers cooking. So, I mean, week 1, hopefully we just come out firing on all cylinders.
That's the hope. Now, I will say this. I am glad that the Ravens lost against the Commanders
So am
on
I.
Monday.
So am I.
Very glad. And
Do you see how big
honestly,
of a deal everybody made it?
yeah, fans made it a big deal. Commanders fans, Ravens fans, fans of all the other 30 teams in the NFL made a big deal out of it because the Ravens were on a 24-game preseason winning streak and it got snapped by the Commanders. Now, the reason why I'm happy for us losing is not because the streak was snapped. It's not because the streak was snapped. It was because I would prefer the Ravens' first time tasting defeat come in the preseason as opposed to the regular season, because even though, like, even me as a fan sitting at home watching the game, when we lost that game, I was hurt. Now, was I like distraught, like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do going into next
Right.
week? Like, this is terrible. No, I wasn't like that. But just simply as a fan sitting on my couch watching at home, I was still kind of hurt. Like, okay, Ravens football, I don't like to see the Ravens lose. Like,
Yeah.
period. Right. So I can only imagine how it must have felt for the guys playing on the field and even the starters on the sideline who weren't playing
Yep.
in that game. They had to feel that. So tasting that defeat earlier on in the preseason when it doesn't count, I think is going to just it's going to motivate this team. It's going to add a little bit of extra motivation that, hey, we aren't perfect. We aren't there yet, right? We can lose, right? So I love it. I wouldn't even mind if we lost to the Bucks, to be honest with you. Light a fire under these guys' ass. I mean, do what you need to do to like go out there in the regular season and really, really turn up. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it in the 2009 or 8 Lions went 4-0 in the preseason, went 0-16. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was like, oh, I hope they make this field goal. I hope the Ravens lose. No, it didn't move me in any way. Whoop-de-frickin' do. Are we putting the 24-game winning streak next to the 2 Lombardis in the castle? Is that what we're doing now?
Nope.
No, like it's meaningless. I could really give 2 rat's asses about it. I know that Harbaugh says that he kind of was a little salty about it, and I get it. You want to win those games, especially the second and third stringers, because you're playing in those games. But as a fan, it didn't really sit here and move me like that. So I wouldn't go home from. I remember last year when we went to the Commanders Ravens game, we weren't sitting here, just throwing beers around, throwing drinks around like when we won. No, we're like, shake hands, go on to the next one. But I'm right there with you. I'd rather us lose the first time there because our first loss last year was when we blew a 28-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Don't want to go through that again for our first loss. I don't want to go through that again. But I see people bringing it up too, how Terry McLaurin also has that turf toe now. So risking him. Yeah. And then what I didn't like, the kicker like flashing the L. I mean, Joey Sly, that was kind of funny, but you've been on like 4 teams in the past couple of years. So not a good look. Yeah. But yeah, got love for the Commanders though. So hopefully we go out there, we do our thing against the Bucks, and we just start week 1 off with a nice fat dub.
Yeah. J Prime 235 here kind of confirming, says, me personally, the streak was just a fun talking point. Yeah. And Harbaugh's ego, low key, but it's better to have a loss in the preseason for talent evaluation.
Yeah.
I agree. You can learn a lot.
How do the guys bounce back? How are they going to bounce back in the game against the Bucks? Is Anthony Brown about to play his ass off and have the best preseason game ever? Is Travis Vogelbach going to have a hat trick of touchdowns? Are our defensive backs going to learn how to cover? That's how I watch and see on Saturday.
Yep. Let me see. Boz says, you don't like losing? Imagine being a Browns fan. Yeah. I mean, you're right about that. This AFC North, just in general, right now is just, it's very interesting to say the least. There's been a couple of media pundits who have come out and said that, the AFC North is the toughest division in football right now, which I tend to agree with. I mean, the Ravens, I think, are one of the best teams in the league. The Steelers are always going to be good, always going to be tough, always going to be gritty, and they have a reason to be even better this year too. Revamped offensive line. Kenny Pickett going to a second year after finishing the season strong. Broderick Jones, left tackle, Darnell Washington type. They've got a lot of good things to look forward to.
Yep.
Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, a lot of good things. One of the best coaches in the AFC, Mike Tomlin. And then you got the Bengals, of course. Granted, a healthy Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, mixing those boys, they are going to be nice too. So this AFC North is stacked. And then we haven't brought up the Browns. The Browns, everybody's sleeping on right now. The Browns have a pretty good roster. We'll see if Deshaun Watson can kind of bounce back from last year, what happened. And he kind of got thrown in there in the middle of the season and just never really seemed like he was, comfortable or whatever. But
yeah,
it's going to be a tough division this year. Who do you got coming in first in this division this season, Alex? Let's be real. As Ravens fans, let's be real. Because I see everybody in the national media saying Bengals, right?
Okay.
So, like, if you're getting ready to tell me Ravens right now are going to win the division, why and how?
I got to back it up. All right. Mm-hmm. As a realist, unfortunately, what happened last week makes me pick the Bengals to win the division. Not having Marlon Humphrey for their first month is going to suck. I do think we dropped the game against the Bengals. I do. I think if he was there, because who's on Jamar Chase? Honestly, Rocky Sin. He was on the street for a month after free agency. So I have the Bengals winning it by a game, and that game is going to be the game early in the season. We're going to beat them the second game, but the first game we're going to be without our top cornerback. And the Bengals do have no defensive backs.
Quarterback though.
If Joe Burrow's not playing, I like the Ravens to win the division. If Burrow misses the first couple of games, like the Ravens.
Okay, so that's so interesting that you just said that. So you're saying if Burrow plays week 2, the Bengals win the division. If Burrow doesn't play week 2, the Ravens win the division. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's like
so week 2.
Burrow to me, he's a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
I think it's Mahomes. Honestly, I put Burrow at 2. I know people might not put him there, but I'll put him there too.
Oh,
Don.
He got another super chat donation. This one's coming from the Don. The Don, man, the Purple Rain Pioneer himself, says, I'm excited for this season. It has a different feel this year. We have holes, every team does, but this year it's going to be hopefully special. Like Zay Flowers, that kid is, Zay Flowers, and we haven't even talked about him at all in this episode. But I know he had a rough day in practice today. Did you hear about that?
I did not.
You didn't hear about that? Yeah, so rough day in practice today, dropped a couple of passes. But that's expected. You know what I mean? 1, he's a rookie. 2, he's human. Hello? I mean, come on now. He's not going to have a great game, a great day every day. Like, it's just not how it works. That's not how football works. It's not how the NFL works. It's not how life works, right? Just period. But Zay Flowers, man, he definitely is looking very, very good. A lot of promise there. I liked what I saw in that touchdown, that 26-yard catch and run touchdown, man. I mean, running by guys, juking them. I think that he can be Weapon X in this offense. And I think I texted you that the other night. He's going to be that guy where we're going to be drawing up wide receiver screens, quick slants, something to get him the ball early and often, and just let him do work afterwards. Because you had guys whiffing at tackles against him. It was very reminiscent of Lamar Jackson's rookie season, where when he would get in the open field, he would make these little slight cuts in the open field, running at like 15 miles an hour, something crazy like that, right? And then just like, make a guy completely miss. So Zay Flowers kind of has that same wiggle, that same juice. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. I think that he could definitely emerge as a wide receiver 1 later in the season. This is no slight to Bateman, no slight to Odell, but I think that Zay Flowers will have the easiest routes in a Todd Monken offense in order for him to succeed early.
Yeah, and I hope he goes up against 3 and 4 corners, not the 1s and 2s. Just, show you off even that more.
Yeah.
But just how I feel about Zay Flowers is I haven't thought about another Ravens rookie receiver. Granted, we didn't see Hollywood his rookie year in preseason. Saw him like against the Eagles, but it really wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
But just seeing what Zay Flowers did on like a 3-yard catch and run, really haven't seen that from a receiver that we drafted.
Yeah.
So I will take that 100% every day. But yeah, I see we're talking about the AFC North. I'm gonna go. Fuck it. Ravens. If Burrow misses the first couple of games, I like the Steelers over the Bengals. But we'll have 3 teams make the playoffs from the AFC North. Ravens, Bengals, Steelers.
Yeah, totally possible. Totally possible. This division is absolutely stacked, and I expect it to be very competitive this year. I really do. Okay, but thank you again so much for your super chat donation, the Don. We appreciate you making it rain here in episode 188 of the Purple Rain podcast. Sounds crazy to say. We're 12 episodes away from 200. So we're going to be getting there very, very soon. Very, very soon. Now, make sure you guys like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you're enjoying the content that you are currently consuming. We'd appreciate that.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and get into some questions from you
Okay.
guys. We want to take some questions from the Rain Gang, kind of see where you guys' heads are at. We'll go ahead and start with this one from Thea Pennell the Fourth, which is somebody who's always active on social media. I appreciate this guy so much. Says, will Bateman will Bateman even reach 700 yards this year? Over or under 700 yards for Rashad Bateman?
I'm gonna go under. I want him to hit it over, but it's just, can he stay healthy? And
yeah,
that's a solid question you have to ask, because this now is what, third year in the league, and he's played how many games? I hate to say it, but especially with having Odell, Aguilar, Zay, it's gonna be hard for him to hit that. I'm gonna go under.
If he was gonna hit that, it would have to be a lot of like catch and runs, kind of like he did against that Dolphins. Yeah.
Yep.
That Dolphins game. So 700 yards. I'm gonna go. Damn, this is tough. And we're still not even factoring in like a Mark Andrews,
Right.
Like
a likely.
He might, a likely. He might straddle that line at 700, but I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under as well. Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's see. Another question. This one's coming from Manuel's College Channel. Says, will Hollywood come back to Baltimore because of the mess of Arizona? No, I don't think he's coming back to Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore wants him back. Me as a Ravens fan, I don't really want him back.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Did you see the video of him getting strapped in training camp?
I did.
Yeah. Moment of silence.
I want to ask a question back. I see Jeremiah says that Bateman could get 1,200 yards if healthy. In this offense, I can't see that. I'm sorry.
No.
It's going to be hard for somebody to get over 1,000 yards in this offense.
Yeah.
If the ball is spread around, or if Lamar has his favorite targets and keeps targeting, yes, but I think it's going to be hard for anybody to get 1,200 in this offense.
Yeah. Let's see. Flo Knows says, did we already talk edge rusher? Low-key disappointed in Ojabo and definitely Tavius Robinson so far. Hopefully it's just rust for Ojabo, though.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the edge rushers. Yeah, Tavius, I was expecting to have like an immediate impact, though. So that one I'm not really too like worried about. But Ojabo, I'm kind of like get a little nervy about that.
Yeah, I got to see something. I got to see something. And in our first couple of weeks, it will really tell us kind of where we are with the edge rushing group, facing some younger quarterbacks who may hold on to the ball just a split second longer than a veteran quarterback would. Got to capitalize on those opportunities against the CJ Stroud, against the Anthony Richardson, against guys like that. So we'll see what happens. Oway is another one who's been terrorizing in training camp. So we're hoping that when he finally takes the field for the regular season, he can kind of keep that same energy. But yeah, the edge rushing group is definitely a huge question mark. Edge rusher and then DB as well, cornerback more specifically. That's where we're weak right now. That's where we are weak for sure. Okay. College Channel says, will Clowney get 7 sacks? 7 sacks? Ooh, man, that's a tough one. I see a lot of Clowney on first and second down when teams might be running the football. Third down, I see them trotting on Ojabo on the field to try to see if he can use those kind of natural pass rusher abilities to get to the quarterback. So Clowney 7 sacks is kind of steep for me.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would probably say like maybe 4, something like that. Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you this: the Steelers just stormed down and scored against the Falcons, and Kenny Pickett made 2 big-time throws at Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. That's why I have the Steelers making the playoff. I am a Kenny Pickett truther. I'll tell you that right now. I like.
Yeah, I mean, I said the same thing about Kenny Pickett. I think he's the real deal. And if these receivers can really step up, like I know George Pickens can, Deontay Johnson, he's there and gone. And then you got guys like Pat Freiermuth, great tight end, underrated.
Yep.
We're not even talking about Darnell Washington just yet because he's a rookie, but he's going to be a problem. Imagine him catching a ball over the middle, and then we're relying on Marcus Williams to go tackle. You know what I mean? I could just see it happening. So they're going to be dangerous. with that being said, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap there with the questions. And for this episode of the Purple Rain podcast, going for about an hour tonight. We appreciate you guys for coming through. Listen, it's the start of a very beautiful season, very long football season, as we always, mention. But we will be here every step of the way. So if you could, and if you would like to, make sure you like this video and also subscribe to the channel if you are new, because there is a lot more Ravens content where this came from. We appreciate you guys. My name is Sutton Def. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def, just like you see down below. And you can find this guy, Simply as 10, on Twitter at Simply as 10, on Instagram at Simply as 10.prod, and on TikTok at Simply as 10, and most importantly on YouTube, just Simply AS10. You know what I mean? So, and then last but not least, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Listen, you can go on Manscaped, get any of their wonderful products, and save yourself 20% off with our code PRP. Not only are you going to get 20% off on Manscaped with our code, you're also going to get free international shipping. So I don't care if you're listening to this from Canada. I don't care if you're listening to this from China. I don't care if you're from Russia, wherever, Africa, does not matter.
Guangdong Tigers.
Exactly. Free international shipping. Wherever you are, wherever you may reside on this earth, we got you. Use our code PRP on manscaped.com. We appreciate you. Listen, again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all you guys for coming through. With that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through to episode 188 of the Purple Rain podcast. I miss you. I know we missed you. I speak for both of us. We missed you. And yes, back for another year. It's crazy. We started this in 2020. All right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot's changed since then. Like a whole lot. Yes.
Yeah. We were a pandemic podcast.
Right. I mean, but a lot's changed, but we are still here, still talking ball. So thank you for rocking with us through 188 episodes. And as always, stay positive, test negative.
And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 188 of the Purple Rain podcast. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.